just need no strength to release their wiggles.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Vibrant Sons podcast. I'm so excited today because I have two special guests in the building today, and we had to pull up on my boy Geoff. So thank you for the shelter.
Oh, you're welcome. Welcome to my beautiful home.
And I want to introduce my boy Geoff. You guys already know he's the co-host of this wonderful podcast, and I have my boy Yamo the GOAT right here. He's a newcomer. But we have a lot of creative things coming on the way, and I want you guys to really get a chance to meet Yamo and get a chance to really hear what he has to say. I think he's a great creative guy.
Experience him.
And what was I going to say, too? If you're listening to me right now on iTunes, shut it off. If you're listening to me on SoundCloud, shut it off. If you're listening to me on Radio Public, that's very good. Let me get this money. Keep listening on Radio Public. But if not, go ahead and hit us up on YouTube. You can find us right here. This is where you'll be able to see our gorgeous faces and know and trust the voices that are coming out of the mouths. I don't know what I'm saying, where I'm going with that. But definitely, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And today we have a really special episode, man. So,
sure.
Yamo, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Let us know who you are and everything.
How y'all doing, man? My name is Yamosa. You know, Yamo for short.
Yeah.
I met Javier in college. So, I do a lot of things, man. I'm a rapper. I write movies, do comedy. Just real creative guy. Moved out here in Atlanta about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and just like, sharing my ideas with the world, man, and like just breaking new ground, to new thinking. So that's what I'm about.
He's also Vine famous. Gotta plug the Vine. Don't forget. I didn't forget.
If y'all heard of Vine, I did have some popular videos on Vine.
We know, brother. We know.
Yeah. Those is on y'all. I would say check them out, but they need Vine. We're not gonna get into that. But,
yeah. So what was your name on Vine though?
I went by Big Swerve.
Big Swerve.
That's what it was.
My Big Swerve. Yeah. I got a couple names now. I got some names out here.
Big Swerve's a good one.
Yeah,
that's
Big Swerve. They call me Swerve, so
Right.
There you go.
Right.
I like that, man. And a lot of people might recognize your face, might recognize your voice, might recognize the name.
Yeah, true.
Because Big Swerve, man, you definitely had a presence on Vine for a little minute.
You did. Yeah. I think I saw you on Vine before I saw you in person.
Dang.
We were at the same school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, facts. I think the same for me, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Y'all never told me that.
We had a class, and I think I told you that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
You was big time, bro. You was big time.
Yeah.
But, so this is, I'm happy to have our first celebrity on the podcast today.
Come on.
Our first celebrity
hopefully.
guest.
Fingers crossed.
We're going to get into a lot of really good topics. But, every once in a while, I like to address the people and really let you guys know all the great things that I'm doing and kind of the behind the scenes of what's been going on the podcast. So today is really just strictly for the people, man. Get you guys abreast on everything that's been going on. And because I know I took a little break. I was off for a week. And I was getting my mind right, and I was also doing a lot of great things for the podcast. Know that whenever I'm taking a week off, I'm doing more than when I'm on. You feel me? So after the week off, I came back and I brought video to you guys.
Hello.
And I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements. So we're gonna get into some of that because I know not everybody's there to see me do some of these live events.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that everybody is still included in the message.
I'm definitely trying to hear this story about this funeral jump that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that. But first, I definitely want to make sure that we get the big thing out the way first and the real message of what this podcast is because I'm going to take a cue from my boy Eddie Huang. Is everybody familiar with Eddie Huang?
I know who he is.
He's the chef?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I just listened to an interview he did just the other day, and he was talking about how important it is to actually say something, and if you're not bringing forward if you're not saying something and really bringing forth positive content or a message behind your content, then why even put it out? You know what I mean? It's all about giving it out to the people. And if you're not maxing that out as much as possible, then why do it? And what I'm doing with this podcast is all about maxing out the amount of insight, advice, keys, gems, or whatever you want to call them, as much as possible. So I really want to get that out the way. And then we can have fun in the process too, you know what I'm saying? So that's what we're all about, dropping gems but still having fun. So first on the docket that we're going to be speaking about is, honestly, just this past week, I was invited back to speak at my high school. Speak
dope.
to the kids at my high school.
Super
bro.
dope.
Wow.
When I saw you post that on Instagram, that instantly made me jealous, because that is something that I've always wanted to do.
Go back to Oakwood. Especially for us, because did you go to Annapolis Academy or a private school?
I did for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like close.
Yeah,
to
I know.
Yeah. So I missed that immensely, and the ability to go back and be like, I was once like you, young ones, something like that. Like, I've always wanted to do that, so that was dope.
Yeah, man, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that they gave me to come and speak to kids, and they trusted me with it because, like, the administration there, they're seeing my podcast. Like, I gave them a link to like my website and everything. Like, they wanted me to come, but they were like, what is he gonna talk about? Like, make sure that it's still a spiritual message and all that stuff like that. And they, they go on my website. I remember, like, one of the office workers, one of the first things was like, we checked out the website. Like, there's no Christian stuff on there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, it's in the content. You know what I mean? We touch on some of that stuff. And it's not anything that goes against biblical principles, but it's not necessarily like I'm on here preaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being conscious of that, I'm going back to a religious school and everything like that, and knowing what it was like when I was there, I was like, all right, I know I do have to drop some spiritual gems in there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I still did that. But ultimately, what I did when I spoke to the kids was talk about challenges and the importance of challenges within our lives. And we all look at challenges in our lives as a bad thing. Like, one thing that I told them was like, my vision of success for myself was not even a certain money, not even like a certain dollar amount or like a certain job. It was more so about like, I reached this point in my life where there's no more challenges. You know what I mean? I can just live and just coast until I die,
Which may not exist.
Exactly. So we come to a point where we realize that that's never going to come. Like, our existence as humans and even our existence as men, it's all about that dance with challenges and within our lives, and being able to accept them and not run away from them, because without challenges, really, you cease to exist. You know what I mean? It's like, for what, Yeah. So, and it's really hard to even comprehend what life would even really be like without challenges.
Yeah, that's the only way to get stronger. Like, if there's no other way to work on yourself, is by with the challenges. That's the only way to learn about yourself. Only way to get better with yourself. You have to face the challenges in some way.
Exactly. And I was gonna say too. So that was actually the first key that I had for them was the first key was embrace challenges, because they're never gonna go away. You have to accept them. Like, if you can't escape challenges, like I said, like I've always tried to escape them. If you can't escape, once you realize that you can't escape them, you gotta just the only thing you can do is accept them. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, but before, of course, I'm speaking to kids. So at first I was like, ask them, what are challenges? What are some of the challenges that you go through? Is it because you can't get a girl's number, or is it because you're failing in a class right now? You're not getting a grade that you want, or challenges that you may have with your parents' relationship, money, different stuff like that. Getting them to define what challenges they face, because I'm not a teenage kid anymore. I mean, I'm sure it's similar, but it's different. You know what I mean? I'm kind of out of touch. But so once I got them to establish what some of those challenges are that they face, it was like, okay, so how do you react when these challenges come? Do you face them head on, or do you try to run away? Do you try to avoid them? Like I said, when I first got to college, man, I tried to avoid challenges as much as possible. Like, I was a bio major, I was pre-med, but being a bio major is like hard work. You know what I mean? So like, when I first got there, I was like, one of my biggest things was, how can I be pre-med but not do all this hard shit that comes with being pre-med, you know. So I was
You
toying
was already
around.
trying to get out of it.
Yeah, so I'm like toying around talking to mentors, like, okay, so like, did you really have to memorize all this stuff? You know, like, what did you do? But ultimately, one thing that they echoed to me, and one thing that I had to get through my mind is like, bro, if you're gonna do this, know that it's gonna be hard work.
Yeah. Was that fear?
Yeah, I was afraid. So definitely, it's like, you know, people try to choose the easy route, and for me, even if I'm progressing in the message, in the timeline, like, part of the reason why I chose medicine was because I kind of thought that it would be an easy route. As far as when people talk about a lot of different professions, like, let's say you're trying to do marketing or you're trying to do politics, at the end of the day, like, your career can be ended by politics, you know? If you didn't shake the right hands, if you didn't get that right internship, that keeps you from reaching a certain level. And in my mind, I thought medicine meant that I'd be untouchable. You know, this dollar sign amount or like this salary was always going to be promised because all I have to do is do well in school, do well on the test, go to class. You know what I mean?
That was
like,
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a linear path to the top.
Right.
And both of us know that it's not that easy and it's not that linear as what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And it's just as rocky as any other profession where literally you can be blocked out of the right school because you didn't shake the right hand or you didn't take on the right opportunity, the right summer internship, you know? And I'm sure you probably faced some of that in your journey, you know?
I mean, the word medicine scares me, bro. I'm doing anything. Bioscience, anything with the body is like, it sounds like hard work. Like, that I'm just not good at. Like,
so you never pursued anything in that field at all, or?
I mean, we had to take some science classes.
Right.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
that's how you know.
So how'd you get through those then?
Man, I mean,
you're not in school no
air.
more. You're not in school no more.
No, man. Yo, they looked out for me, bro. Like, a lot of my like, it was more, because I'm more of a, like, I'm not really book smart, but I'm people smart, so.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I was
that
cool with
goes a
my
long way,
professors.
too. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got caught one time cheating, though.
Oh, dang.
I did.
Trying to take the easy way out.
And what's crazy about that too is what I've realized, especially towards the tail end of my collegiate, you know, life or whatever, your career, was that a degree is not even necessarily all about the work. It's like kind of 50% work, 50% finesse.
Come on now.
You know what I'm
There's
saying?
a lot of
Like,
finesse in that degree. That's
yeah.
for sure. We all know that.
in every degree, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
absolutely.
there've been bio classes that we've been in where the people at the top were only there because they had the answer keys to old tests.
Oh my goodness! When I found that out,
Yeah.
that made me so mad.
And
Anyway.
basing their study guides off of old tests.
Yeah.
And that kind of blurs the lines on what is cheating and what's not, you know? And if you're not in that inner circle, if you didn't shake the right hands, become friends with the right people, you're X'd out of that top core group of people who are succeeding in that class.
Yeah.
Right.
So know that in everything, like in life, I mean, I don't want to go too far. That's kind of like going off too far off a tangent, but life is kind of a game, you know what I mean? And it's all about playing the right things in order to get the right results.
Yeah.
And knowing when to break the rules, when not to. I mean, there's
So you're encouraging cheating?
No, I wouldn't say that. For the record, I wouldn't say that. For the record.
Thank you for clarifying.
But what I'm saying is that
Street smart. Just
be street smart.
Right.
Street smarts is just as important as book smarts.
Sure.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Beautiful quote.
Absolutely.
There you go. And it's like, in some cases, it's even more important. But we're going to get back to this.
Right.
So like I said, so the first key that I gave them was like, don't run away from challenges. Face them head on because you're never going to be able to escape them. And trust that by facing it head on, you're going to come out a stronger person. I mean, the cliche quote is, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger.
Yeah.
So you got to know that when you're going through it, you're going to come out smarter. You're going to come out stronger. You're going to come out
Better.
Yeah. Harder, better, faster, stronger.
Who's saying that? I can't remember. Who's saying that? I can't remember.
Daft Punk.
The late, great Kanye West.
The late, yes.
No. Late registration.
Excuse me, sorry.
But so
favorite song in the world.
Oh boy.
And then the second key that I gave them was definitely once you start to embrace the challenges in your life, no matter what level you're on, start to own your challenges, and that is definitely a strong key when it comes to owning the challenges that you were born into, some of the adversities, some of the stuff that we talked to on a previous podcast, and like, you know, some of the stuff that defines you as a person. You know, a challenge growing up in America, we can all agree, being a black man in America is already inherently a challenge. Right. Growing up into a household with limited income is a challenge. A certain place, you know what I mean, on the map is already inherently a challenge. But don't try to feel like you have to be something that you're not, or feel like you have to wash away some of the challenges that you've been through. Embrace that. Know that that's what makes you who you are, and that's what's gonna make your story. That's what adds the little seasoning on your story. You know what I mean? That's what sets you apart from everyone else. That's what makes you an individual. So own that. And then further, on top of that is like, on top of owning it is like truly owning it in the sense of like how Eminem owned his challenges in 8 Mile, where, you know, like in that rap battle that he had, that final rap battle,
call out himself or whatever. Yeah.
You call out yourself, and you wear your insecurities on a sleeve so that no one can use that against you. And I use the example for the kids is like, you know, the same way that Drake does it. You know, Drake, early on, everyone criticized him for how emotional he was.
We still do.
How he was the pretty boy, you know.
I don't. I love it all. I love it all.
So, but Drake has made a career out of embracing everything that makes him who he is, being half black, half white, being Jewish, being the ladies' man, you know, being the underdog, being at the top of the game, you know what I mean?
No beard.
All those challenges. So, in the same way that he does, and now it's like it got to the point where it's cool. And,
I was about to say that.
And in the same way, like Eminem in 8 Mile, I mean, it came to a point where Drake was in a rap battles like with Meek, and it's like, what could Meek say at that time?
There was nothing to say.
But Meek had all that stuff, kind of like, you know, like those insecurities, I guess, with your girl eclipsing your career and you having to take the back seat, and him not fully embracing that. Drake, you know, was able to get the upper hand on him and expose him in a way that you can't expose Drake because he's already been exposed, you know? So expose yourself before you give anybody the ammo to expose you. You know what I mean? Because once you expose yourself, you've given yourself all the ammo. Now you can just unload the clip on everybody else because you've fully embraced who you are and what makes you've become mentally equipped in any challenge that you can take on.
I think it's even more than that, though. I think that it's not just owning it so that you can prepare yourself for or load yourself with all the ammo, but I think it's also you have to, you know, like going back to the Drake thing. Drake owned the being a girly rapper or whatever, or rapper for the girls and all that stuff. And eventually the tide in rap really turned around him, and everything now follows Drake, and it's a lot of little Drakes. You know, he's influenced so much in the rap culture, and that. Obviously, I don't know if Drake gets all the credit for that. You know, obviously other artists were turning the tides also. But when you work hard and when you own yourself and when you become, you know, that focused on what you're doing, tides turn in your favor. Like, things work out. Like, you know, the plan comes together eventually. And it's important to stay focused on yourself and know yourself and love yourself and be yourself. And if the world never turns in your favor, at the very least, you'll be comfortable with your own skin.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. There can only be one you.
Facts.
Exactly.
Facts.
And owning your challenges, even the ones that you weren't born with, but like some of the stuff that you the challenges that you face within your life, still own those. Like for me, you know, like I'm very open about like how I was applying for medical school, and I told them, you know, when I applied to medical school the first time, I got denied by every one of the schools that I applied to.
Mercy.
You know, but instead of using that as like defeat, you know what I mean, and running away from that. I remember the first, like the last day that I got that final denial letter from a school, like I sat there and I was sad for a minute, but I was like, you know, I got to do something about this. So I literally went to Barnes & Noble, bought the book called The Obstacle is the Way, Turning Your Trials into Triumph by Ryan Holiday. And that helped me like change my perspective on challenges and know that like, pretty much what I'm saying here. I mean, he goes more in depth in the book, but this is kind of like the overarching message is like, just, you know that you have to take on challenges. And when you do that, you can be better equipped to take on the next one. And going through that challenge of not getting into any schools and like kind of like my whole life's work was like kind of like deaded in that moment. Instead of wallowing in that, I flipped it and used like, now I worked hard towards reapplying, and I also started this podcast, which has opened up so many opportunities that you guys have been able to see firsthand, and all my listeners have been able to see. And I'm documenting it as I go. That's what these episodes are for, is documenting that progress. Because when I first started this, I didn't think that I'd be speaking to kids in high school, you know what I mean, going back to my high school and having an impact like that. So it's all about owning the challenges and knowing that something greater is going to come, and using all that momentum for the next challenge. So after owning it, so the first one was embrace your challenges, second one was owning it, and then the third one was knowing that you can overcome any challenge that is placed before you.
Amen, preacher.
And that's when I really had to drop the biblical gem on them, because I know that the teachers were waiting for it. So I was like, know that, because it's like the Bible says, and I'll drop the verse right here because I got it. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Come on now. Is the Bible talks about like within any temptation or God has given you a route to already escape it. So inherently, when a challenge comes forward, you already know that there, like, you just gotta find, like, there's a route available for you to break through. You just gotta find what that is. No challenge is impossible. You just gotta sit back, kind of analyze it for a minute, kind of like a video game, and just like analyze your surroundings and just find that route to get through. And even on top of that, I mean, the verse even says that God's not gonna give you any more than you can bear. So we all, and that's something that is a common phrase thrown out there. So it's like, if God's not going to give you anything that you can't bear, then you already have that confidence in you to know that you're bigger than whatever challenge is in your life. No matter if it's your skin color, no matter if it's the income that you have, or your parents may have passed away, or your father's in jail, your mother's in jail, or something like that. You know what I mean? Things that sometimes are out of our control. Are still like, we can still overcome those, and we don't have to be victims to our situations.
Nothing has to destroy you. It's not meant to destroy you. The challenges are meant to make you better.
Exactly.
For the next one.
So
he kind of does give you challenges you should be bearing, kind of, in a way.
Because you got to keep preparing for the next one, right?
I see what you're saying. Exactly.
Because at the time you can't see it. You don't know you can bear it.
Everything is just
that
training.
verse is a setup, people. It's a setup. No, but that's real though, man. Like, I be one thing that I be doing when I go to the gym and I be working out, man, and I know I gotta run like a mile. It's so hard before I start, because it's like all this running that you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not gonna get through this. But once you get started,
you realize,
because you've done it before. You know what I'm saying?
And that's one thing too, is like with the running analogy, is that when I was in college, I ran a half marathon when I was at La Sierra. But I was never a serious runner. Like, it was literally one day I saw my friend training for a marathon, and I was like, I asked her, I was like, what are you doing? She said she's training for a half marathon. And I was like, let me join you. And I started running with her and just kind of picking up on the regiment. And it's like, no one's ever going to be able to just run. I mean, a half marathon is 13.1 miles.
Hell no.
If you just get out today and try to run 13 miles, and don't forget that 0.1, because that 0.1 kills you. Once you see 13, when you're running, you're like, all right, I'm at the end. But you still got that 0.1.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe you did that, bro. That's such an amazing feat.
You're wilding.
You are wilding.
And to me, it's still unfathomable to me at this point, because I know right now it would probably be a struggle for me to run 3 miles, 5 miles,
One.
Exactly, That's even a struggle, but it's like no one's going to be able, if you just wake up, hop out of bed, you're not going to be able to run 13 miles. It comes with training. So, like you said, once you get going, you find that it gets easier. So it's like 1 mile. Once you know that you can do 1 mile, then you do 1.5, then you do 2, then you do 3, and
then you stop. Stop at 3, because ain't nobody trying to go to the hospital. It's too much. Anybody running past 3 miles, you need to relax. Too much. Go sit down somewhere.
I mean, in all honesty, yeah. And, you know, so now it's like I've come to the point, like, at one point I ran 13.1, but I never did it again, you know, and I can't even, now it's like trying to get back in that mindset, like, damn, could you ever really do that? Could you even run 5 miles again?
Right. Yeah.
So it's all about knowing that sometimes challenges seem like this too much, you know what I mean, when you're looking at that 13.1, but sometimes you got to look at it as that 1,
right,
then the 2.
Right.
Then you keep going from there if you want to.
Yeah.
You keep building. But so that's what that key was. And then also I touched on the Vibrant Sons philosophy, and just kind of reiterate that to everybody who's probably new to this podcast, is that the Vibrant Sons philosophy is all about emulating the sun that's in the sky. So the sun, and that's when I use a double entendre too, because I know they were looking for that biblical aspect. So it's like the sun that's in heaven, and then the sun that's in the sky. We got to emulate both.
Right.
But specifically, as it pertains to the Vibrant Sons philosophy, is like emulating the sun that is the center of our universe or our solar system, because you know, you see the sun, and we all can acknowledge like the sun is bright, right? And when you think about the sun, you think of brightness and heat and all that stuff like that. But you also have to, but when you look at the sun, you have to realize that the sun is the only thing providing light in the universe, you know what I mean? So if you took away the sun, it would be nothing but cold, it'd be nothing but darkness all around it, you know? And so the sun in that moment could be discouraged, saying like, oh, there's no brightness around me, I'm the only one that's shining bright, I'm the only one that's warm, why should I take on this responsibility? But, you know, so the sun, no matter what, still shines bright. It still provides warmth in our dark and cold universe or whatever. And it doesn't stop. And by doing that, it attracts all the planets towards it. It creates life. And in that same way, when we emulate the sun, we're able to create life around us. We're able to create opportunities around us. And that's what I've been doing with this podcast, creating opportunities for myself by doing nothing but putting out positive energy and warmth. You know what I mean? And trying to empower as many people as I can. I've created my own opportunities. And the same thing you can do when you just take on that same philosophy and apply it to whatever thing you're working on. It doesn't have to be the same thing.
Mercy. You broke that down clean. It's a clean break.
Yeah, the kids must have been like,
yeah, man. So, and that was what's crazy about it too, is because I had the full attention of the staff and of the students. And it was crazy and they were all interested in the bracelets that I had. I don't have my bracelet on right now, but, you know, they were all...
Still waiting on mine.
How did you feel when you were up there? Like, were you like was the room... Because the way you broke that down, that just feels like a quiet moment. Yeah. So, was your stomach getting tight right there, or...
I mean, at first, like, once I started speaking, I kind of caught the groove, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that 13.1, you know? At that point, I was already at the 10-mile mark, you know? Right. But getting started, that first mile or whatever, you know, introducing myself and feeling that, getting over that surreal moment of, like, man, I'm talking to kids at my old high school, and now they have a mic system, a whole, like, speaker system and everything like that. Yeah. It's like... that was surreal to me, and I'm like, you know, I don't feel like I'm too far removed from where they were, you know. I was just wearing those same blazers they were wearing, you know. So getting over that's when I like really hit the stride and was able to deliver the message at the end, you know. So that was the real positive part about it. And I'm so glad that I was able to share that message and be able to have an impact and keep the interest of the kids. Because my brother was telling me, he's like, yeah, bro, before you got on, I was nervous. Because my brother still goes to the high school. He's about to graduate this year. And he was like, yeah, man, like, it was a sad day today. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody was feeling cheerful until you came in. So I was like, bet, you know, that made you feel good, you know? Yeah. But now, you know, I told that story. We dropped the gems. Now it's time to get into a couple jokes. You know what I'm saying? It's time to have a little bit more fun with the conversation. But so just recently, this was before I spoke at the high school.
Oh, this is the story?
Yeah.
All right.
Before I spoke at the high school, I was invited to moderate at this for this panel. It was called the Live Before You Die Summit. It was put on by the Community Council of Metro Atlanta. And they do a lot of great things in the community, you know? I want to set that clear right now. This is in no way a diss to them or their organization, what they're doing, their mission. I think that they do a lot of great things. They have this one thing called the Priority Male Institute Initiative or something like that, where they're really hands-on with developing young men into being men, you know?
Yeah.
And helping them with those transitions and getting kids to make the right decisions and not become victims of society and the peer pressures in life and all that good stuff. But so they invited me to the Live Before You Die Summit, which was a mock funeral. So they had a casket come through, everything. Like they had
it's just like what it sounds.
Yeah.
Mock funeral.
It was a mock funeral. And they had me come, like I wasn't involved with the funeral, so after the mock funeral.
Wow, what a concept.
Yeah. So after the mock funeral, they had a panel discussion.
A mock funeral?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
So the ideology behind the mock funeral was this. It was like, for kids, it was supposed to be a wake-up call and see that
this is where you could be.
Yeah, you could be in this casket.
That's
this could be your funeral.
That's scary.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be like a real wake-up call.
So they real with it.
Yeah, and like on all the marketing, like I was kind of like hesitant to really market for it because on the flyers, like it's like older people doing this. You know what I mean? It's not like
Right.
our
Trying
style.
to scare people.
So they had like a tomb, like a tombstone on there, and like a like skull and crossbones.
So they're advertising death instead of life.
That's what I'm saying. So I was like, that's what I was like. You know, we should really try to be advertising the life,
right?
But it's
we're all alive here.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, but this isn't my event. I'm just invited to just be a part of it. So I was like, you know. So that's why I was telling people about it, but I wasn't really like gung-ho. And I was really, and this is my first encounter with these people. Like they knew about me. They found out about me through the panel discussion of Bernice King. So like when I got up there, I was able to talk to Bernice King. When I came back to my seat, one of the representatives came to me and was like, oh, here's my card. You know, like I want you to be involved with some of the stuff that we're doing.
Oh, wow.
They were impressed by the question that I asked. So that's how I got involved with them. So I didn't know too much about their organization, their history. So I was just like hesitant to really like market for it because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into.
You can't co-sign something you don't know for sure.
But it, you know, like I said.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was kind of gonna redig my question. So
okay. So
were they white people?
No, they were black.
Okay. I clearly had to ask you. Like
it's a necessary question when we're talking about topics that you just don't know about.
Yeah,
you got to get the proper context. Yeah, for sure.
So these are black people.
Yeah, older black people. Like when I say older, like probably the youngest person on staff is 50.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like older.
Okay.
This is like an old man to the young man conversation. Though.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the way you're going down is wrong, young brother. You need to correct yourself. This will kill you. You know, blah, blah, blah. It's a very stern message.
Yeah. And I understand that message is effective to certain people or to certain communities. And there's definitely some validity to it because we all know that life out here is rough. And like when we start talking about Atlanta and like the realities of some of the things in Atlanta, like how there's so much sex trafficking, like and kids literally get snatched up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but then when you kind of like really push that, it kind of like makes you afraid to even want to go outside. Like, how can I truly live if I'm afraid to die? You know what I mean? Or like, you know, all the stuff like that. But it's really like they're trying to get kids to be more conscious of their decisions and know that your decisions can lead you down a wrong path. And they had, when it comes to the panel discussion, I was just a moderator. I wasn't even invited to speak. So like about my podcast, like I was just there to moderate the panelists. And the panelists, they were all older too, probably the youngest one. I mean, they did have some younger guys, but all of them were like really hard messages. Like I think the youngest guy, like he was one of those troubled youth kind of guys, like got involved in the wrong things and ended up getting shot in the head and lost his eyes. Like he's blind now. So like it's a real message, you know what I mean? So like that's what I'm saying. I like when you're in it, it's like you can't take away from anybody's message, you know what I mean? Like especially if it's really hard, like a heartfelt message like that. And like there's this other guy who like came from a gang life and like now he's like now he's fighting against gangs and trying to promote, the positive, like trying to get people to
on his
be
Stanley
peaceful.
Tookie Williams type stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna act like I know what you're talking about. But yeah.
Oh, you don't know who Tookie Williams?
I mean,
is?
I know who he is.
Oh,
But I don't know what the reference was.
He wrote a book about how being a Crip was bad and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, there we go. So I kind of got the gist.
Yeah.
And then there's people in there who, of course, talked about sex trafficking and talked about mental health and drugs in the community and all stuff like that. And it's actually funny because, like, this is actually a pretty funny story. On the panel, there was this guy who works, and I actually kind of want him to come on this podcast too, because there's validity to what people are saying, man. Right. It's just, to me, it was just all about the context, and I'll get on that more as we get on. But I want to tell this story. So, this guy, he works for Fulton County, like he's a government official.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, his whole thing is about like building a community, fighting against. The message that I've kind of been sharing, getting our youth and all. And he shared like a really interesting graph where it was like he kind of took a poll of like kids in Atlanta and was like, what are the things that we're facing the most? Like, what are some of the challenges that you're facing the most or whatever? And the two top things that kids listed were drugs, and then right after was mental illness or like mental health. And what it seemed like he used the mental. He's like, yeah, you see, mental health was one of the biggest things, and I believe it's because of the drugs. And he just went into a full conversation about drugs. You know what I mean? And when I tell you, like, the conversation about drugs, it was like one of them OG conversations. Yeah. Like, these are the code names for drugs that kids are using.
They can only have that conversation one way. I've never seen an OG have that conversation in any other way.
Yeah, and it's funny because, so he starts talking about marijuana, and like, for me,
come on,
their
man.
favorite.
Come on, man. I was gonna look past that one.
So never.
So we all we all understand that at this point in society, weed has kind of become that gray area drug where we can accept that there are some medicinal uses, there are some positive uses, but at the same time, when you're using it at a young age, or if you're using it for the wrong reasons, it can become a crutch and keep you from fulfilling your true purpose in life or whatever. It can become a distraction and can honestly probably lead you down a wrong path. But when you come at it from the angle of like it's all bad, then it becomes like a kind of like touchy subject, and it's hard to navigate with weed because we're in somewhat of a prohibition era, and there's some free thinkers who say that it shouldn't be illegal and all that stuff. But we won't even touch on all that. But it was funny when he was talking about just like all the code names for weed, like Blaze, Haze, or Gas, Loud, right?
He said gas.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a whole slideshow.
PowerPoint.
Like PowerPoint.
Gas.
So, but the best one to me,
serious.
the best one to me was when he talked about he one of the code names was Keisha, like, and we all know like that. I think it's that Cash Out song. It's like smoking on Keisha.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Riding around smoking on Keisha.
Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, they won't even say that, they're smoking weed. They'll say something like, we're going to Keisha'S house.
No one says that.
And I'm saying the kids might be saying that.
You think so?
I don't think so. But the kids might be saying
clean,
that.
Though.
But what?
Super clean.
And that's exactly what I came out with. I was like,
super clean.
I never said we going to Keisha'S house, but I'm gonna start saying that.
Super clean.
I'm like, bro, you just put me on a little bit, bro. We going to Keisha'S house tonight.
Every night.
Thanks. I gotta meet with Keisha. So
this man out here educating. He trying to scare y'all. He giving y'all new terms.
So exactly, and that's what I took from it. That was my takeaway. I'm
going to Keisha'S house.
And it was, and another funny part about it too was that, okay, so as my role as a moderator, I was supposed to introduce all of the panelists and then come back around and like let them give like like a brief, like 5-minute, like, this is who I am, this is why I'm here, this is the message or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Just so we can get the conversation going, right? But the first person that was on the panel was the blind guy. And he was Hispanic too, so I think there might, there's obviously like a little bit of a barrier because he can't see. So I can't give him cues of like, it's time to cut it out, like we're trying to slow it down.
Tap him on the shoulder.
It sounds like an Adam Sandler movie.
Or it's like, and then at the same time, I mean, there's probably a bit of a language barrier too. Like if I was like, hey, bro, time to cut, like, you're like, huh? Like, and then we get into that whole like academics thing, like, what'd you say? What'd you say?
He was in a tough position.
Yeah. So, and when he got up, I was like, this is the first person. He gets up, he says his name, and instantly goes into a story. And he doesn't cap it at 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
He goes for like a cool 20 minutes or so, right? Yeah. And everybody, I mean, his story obviously is interesting. Yeah. There's obviously some things that you can gain from it. But then there's also that sympathy to it. It's like, I'm not going to be the one to stop the blind man off, right?
Gotta let the blind man talk. Gotta let the blind man talk.
Buddy, you gotta wrap it up, buddy. You have to wrap it up.
So I let my man roll, but he set the tone.
Yeah, now everybody gonna get their 20 minutes.
Just to the point where there wasn't really much of a discussion. Like, you know what I mean? Once the panelists introduced themselves, it's like, all right, time's up.
Bad.
It's time to go. No, I mean like literally the time was up. Yeah. Like there's no panel no more. We introduced ourselves. Now it's time to bounce. So it was like, it was funny, and I think that, and obviously we're pulling the jokes out of it, but it was definitely an impactful conversation that, or at least things that people were presenting.
Oh, man.
But one thing that stuck out to me was one guy came up and he like kind of talked and he was like, he like, because we did have a mini panel discussion and some people did come up and ask questions, and he was like, he kind of echoed what I've been kind of trying to say in this conversation right here, is that like, we understand that you guys are doing great things in the community, like, and we know that your message works because you guys are able to keep going. But when you look out into this crowd, there's a barrier between what you're saying and what we're hearing, like in that talk with drugs, like it's kind of an outdated message, you know? So it's like, how can we bridge the gap between what you guys are saying and what we're hearing? Yeah. And how can we, and some of them just brush them off like, bruh, like, you don't know what you're talking about, you know what I mean? But there's some validity to that, you know what I mean? Like, when you're I feel like when you're dealing with kids who may already be dealing with the harshness in life and all they see is the raw reality of sex trafficking, drugs, and all that stuff, that may work for them. Right. But when you're dealing with people like us who are already kind of like, not really around it, that's going in one ear, out the other. Right. And being in that situation kind of showed me that, like, I respect everything that they're doing, but I don't ever want to come to the point where I'm putting out like an outdated message.
That far from it.
Yeah, and I just feel like I'm far from it, and that I'm unrelatable, and it's just going over people's heads. Right. And that's why I want to keep people around who are conscious of that, because I didn't come into this podcast to become like a motivational speaker, you know what I mean? Or like try to be like, this is what you need to do and all that stuff like that. I just want to try to, give people the space to tell their true stories in any way that is. Yeah. If it's extreme, if it's not, but like but be able to extract keys from everything, Yeah. And even with this podcast, I struggle with like, I know that with what I'm doing, podcasting is not easily accessible to the youth. Like, they're not trying to sit down and listen to long form conversations. So how can I package this in the best way if that's my demographic, And then if that's my demographic, I know that I don't ever want to be looked at as like how they were looking at those guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I want to always be conscious of my voice.
Stay plugged in.
And how it's coming across. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Definitely. You gotta be. It's kind of like, I refer to a lot of things back to basketball a lot because I love basketball, but it's kind of like the coach. Like, to have a great team, you want to still be out there with them. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be up on the high seat and analyzing so much that you're not there and seeing actually because the kids are dealing with different issues now. It ain't even so much people so caught up on the fact that people smoking weed. It's like kids is getting into cocaine now. You know what I'm saying? Like the crack is starting to come. Crack is coming back.
Crack is back.
Crack is back. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's some other issues that we, you know,
My bad.
it's crack is cracking backs now. So, like, we need to. It's some other things that we want to get to, and you're not gonna get to them if like they still talking about going to Keisha'S house. Like, bro, that's you know, like, and not dissing what they're doing, but like just saying like, you want to be as how you gonna deal with the problem? You're not in there, you know what I'm saying? And so
yeah, there's definitely got to be a way to bridge the gap because, like you were saying, like the validity to that argument to me strikes more like because I feel like to somewhat of an extent I'm a little bit of an OG now. Like there's a little bit in me that oversees the younger generation.
Yeah, and the fact that you're 7'11".
Yeah, the fact that I'm tall definitely
that plays a part.
But I feel like you know the whole argument of you know, this is what y'all doing is crazy and y'all need to cut it out. You know, that comes from the mindset of, you know, back in my day, I didn't really think it was going to happen. Yeah. Like, I know a lot of people right now, like, I have friends that have been locked up recently, friends that have, you know, gotten pregnant, you know, when they weren't planning on that kind of stuff. Yeah. And a lot of times for people like us who aren't necessarily grown up in those extremes, we just don't even think that kind of thing is a possibility to us. Like the idea that I could go to jail doesn't even make sense to me because I know myself and I won't do nothing like that. Yeah. But then I might actually go to jail.
That sense of invincibility.
Yeah. Overconfidence almost. Like you think like this could never happen to me. And then it does. And I think a lot of these older people and these OGs were in that same situation. And then they wish that they could just go back in time and be like, yo, take it seriously. You could really die. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that I think there's still definitely a relevant message in that if I feel like, you know, me personally, I've never been to jail or anything, but there's things that have seriously happened to me that if I had known to take seriously, I would have been better off. Yeah. So I think that, like you said, there's got to be a way to, you know, talk to the young generation in a way that they listen, but still give them all sides of the argument. You know what I mean? So that way everybody, you know, everybody feels all sides of the argument.
Yeah. And I mean, I come from I don't want to say that I come from a background that I didn't believe that could happen because I did see it in my life, and it was like I want to separate the guys who want to get out of that situation because that was presented to me and that could have been what it was, but I chose it not to be, and it's possible to break through out of that. You know what I'm saying? Even poverty. True. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to even touch on this. Like man, like this is what. It's kind of the government food, like this is what it is. But man, there's ways to still go to college, bro, without your parents helping you. Like ways to, you know, get into schools and get meetings and stuff like that.
That's what Antoine talked about when we were talking to Antoine. We was talking about the statistics and everything and how, you know, in those sheltered areas or those poverty areas, it's hard to break out, but there are anomalies. There are exceptions to those rules. When society tells us you can't break out, you know, it's still possible for you to be successful.
And it ain't easy with it.
Yeah. And to me, I feel like there's probably like a difference in message between the generations because, like you said, at their time, things were a little bit more black and white, where it was like, if you do these drugs, we kind of see what path is gonna go on, even if it's a little weed. You know what I'm saying? Like it kind of like probably had worse effects back then, or you know, on society, or people were doing worse things like, you know, heroin, stuff like that, or even like when it comes to school, like back then it was like go to college or you're just gonna have a normal job, you know. Whereas now it's like it's a little bit more nuanced to it, you know. Smoke a little weed, you know what I'm saying? Just don't let it control your whole life, you know. Or like, you know, you don't necessarily have to go to college if you have a well thought out plan for your life and like how to get there. Like I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought about this much recently, but like I remember having this thought like a few years back. Even like I was like, you know, when I have kids, I'm giving them 3 options. It's like either go to school, go to the military, or present a business plan to me. Like give me a well thought out plan of what you're gonna do. Without or you know, you're gonna have to go to school. You're gonna have to go to the military, bro, because you got to do something. You know what I mean? You can't just graduate from high school and just be like, all right, well, this is it. You know. Because that's not the way our life is set up. You gonna be a bum with that mentality.
That's a fact.
It's like, you know, changing that narrative, and like sometimes even with our parents, it's hard to like, tell them, like if you're trying to venture into something new, because they're still in that conventional way of thinking like education is the way out.
Right.
And sometimes it's more like, now it's recently been like creativity is the way out. And hard work, and creativity, when you combine both of those things, can create a way better life than the conventional ways of seeking out success.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I picked up from Virgil Abloh from Off-White and everything. In one of his talks, he said something like, he was like, and I may be terribly paraphrasing this, but he was like, if you have a goal or like a vision in your life, just work towards making that into a concrete thing that you can touch. Like, get that idea out, and that might lead you more on the path of fulfillment than conventional ways of living. You know what I mean? And that's kind of been shown with like this podcast. You know what I mean? Like, I had this idea in my mind for a long time of doing a podcast and what I would speak about, but I was so caught up on the path that was like the conventional path of going to school, going to medical school, doing this in order to get that high paycheck, and neglecting that, this passion may lead you on a better path, maybe even a more financially stable path, because now, when you look at wealth in America, doctors are looking a lot more like middle class, you know what I mean?
That's
compared
true.
to like these guys in tech,
Yeah.
entertainment, or like entrepreneurial shit,
Yeah.
So you definitely have to be creative. Even if you want to be a doctor, be creative in what you're doing.
Right.
And
Draw some pictures.
yeah, or I mean, but be creative about your path. Like, it may not be art, but like creative about your work ethic, so then you can be innovative, because creativity leads to innovative ideas.
Yeah.
You gotta be purposeful. I think that's another big thing. You gotta have a clear, like you said with your kids, you gotta at least have a business plan or something. You gotta present to me a plan, something that's gonna make you to get to where you need to be.
Yeah. So that's really, man, that's all the keys that I have for this week.
We
bro.
keyed up. That's a lot of keys there.
Yeah.
For free.
This was potent, man. I mean, but did you have any? I mean, we got a guest in the building though. Like, I definitely want to give you the opportunity to share any keys that you might have, that, because I know I focus this mainly on my experiences as of late. But I mean, is there anything that you guys have been like thinking about?
I mean, the biggest key for me as of late has just been God, though. Like, just generally, like, it's just a different climate now. Like, we're seeing different things on how people are becoming successful. We're seeing different ways of media coming out. Like, I just think that, like, somebody being a creative person, another avenue is to listen to God on what he thinks you should do. You know what I'm saying? It's a tougher path. You know, but it's like it can work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, of course, those are some great things that you were saying, and like all that should be added onto it. But like, I mean, one of the main things for me, man, has just been like listening to God and what he thinks you should do.
So like, what specifically have you has shown you that?
Well, like for me, like I dropped out of college.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't what my parents wanted me to do. It wasn't even what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I've learned that when I dropped out, and I dropped out my senior year. I dropped out my senior year.
I know they were like, just finish.
Yo,
just finish.
it was. It's still like, bro. Like the first like months, I had dreams about graduating. I was waking up ungraduated. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, but I mean, you just wanted to accomplish that. But God was telling me to do something else, and even though I haven't gotten to the exact point where I want to be in my life, I've seen how me leaving college has grown me in areas that I knew I wouldn't have grown in college.
Yeah.
Areas that I've focused on that I would have never even put my mind to. And I mean, from the outside, it's just like, where's your job at? Where's this going and stuff like that. I don't want to beat on this table where it's like mess up the sound.
Go ahead, bro.
But
the sound. Never.
Don't do that. Yeah, we gotta be
yo, relax, bro. You wild. Yeah, but it's grown me in areas to help me focus on things that like I never would have focused on, like my parents, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I've had both parents, but the problems that they've been dealing with, you know what I'm saying? Dealing with you know, just with everything, with life and stuff like that, they needed help in areas. You know what I'm saying? I needed, you know, freeing of like letting go of certain things, grudges and stuff that I was holding on to that can make me a better person. Yeah. And man, you just not. I wasn't gonna get that being in another state. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't gonna get that, cause you know the college grind. You know what I'm saying? You go to college. You know what I'm saying? You got studying. You see the people on holidays. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
you create your own world and you live in your own bubble.
Exactly, man. Like that's what society promotes you to do. But like I've learned that like me just really trying to key in on what God's told me to do. Man, He asked me to do these wild things. Like drop out of college, and I've seen myself grow that I only know. You know what I'm saying? Because on the outside, people's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come here. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But yeah, it's been very beneficial. So
yeah, and that I can apply to myself too. Like you said, once you start listening to God's voice and really trying to key in on that, some of the decisions are gonna sound crazy, but it's gonna lead you on a much more fulfilling path. Like with everything that I'm doing with this, you know what I mean? This was not what I want to do, and I kind of even like put that on my Instagram, like with that video of Logic talking to Zane Lowe, and like in his interview, he was talking about a conversation that he had with Killer Mike about his album of Everybody or something. He was like, you know, no one's talking about mental health, and I want to put this on a pedestal. You know, no one up here is talking about mental health. But I want to be the one to do that. But at the same time, I don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't want to do this. Right. And then Killer Mike was like, bro, you got to do what you got to do. You know? And I was like, and I took that clip and I used it for myself. I was like, this is what conversations with me and God are like. You know, it's like at a certain level, I want to do this podcast. I want to empower people. But like I said, sometimes it feels awkward, or sometimes it's like, do I really want to be that guy, the motivation guy? Yeah. You know Do I really want to like go on a path that isn't set out for me? You know?
It's doing stuff for you that you don't even know, preparing you for stuff that you don't even know yet. You know what I'm saying? Like even what you talking in the position that you was in a position with the panel. What they were talking about, the blind guy with the kids, like when you do something else in the future on a bigger level, you're gonna be so well prepared for something crazy, you know what I'm saying, and something to happen. So that's a dope thing about listening to God, because it just puts you in these crazy predicaments, but it, you know, like what we said, it prepares you for, you know, bigger things.
And it's like really like, and that's why I preach that philosophy, because it's like once, like the Byron Sons philosophy, because once you start accepting God's voice and really putting out like, you know, love into the air, and like, you know, just trying to be a good person, promote positivity, you attract so many opportunities, and like opportunities that I can't even say on this podcast yet, because the bag ain't secure, and you know there's ops that pay attention too, and you know what I'm saying, I wanted to be a surprise for my listeners, you know what I mean, but like there's great things happening and things that I never thought would come to fruition, and you know, it's like my network is expanding. Like, because I'm doing this, I've gotten closer with you. Yeah. I've gotten closer with Geoff, with my brothers, with my listeners, everyone who listens, with my family. So, you know.
Y'all smell that?
It smells like Keisha here. Like Keisha just walked in.
I was gonna say spaghetti.
This ain't Keisha's house.
I smell pasta, bro.
It ain't me. I ain't cooking nothing.
It smell like somebody making some pasta. It smell like Olive Garden.
Man, now you got me hungry, bro.
Hey, thanks, bro. I'm a little hungry. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to end it off right there, man. Just listen to that voice. And spaghetti.
I'm dead. Pasta.
Man, tap into God's voice that's in your life. Embrace the challenges. Know that you can overcome any challenge. And be conscious of your voice as an individual. And know that you can do wondrous things. You're really the only limiting factor in your life. Only you can limit you.
That's a fact.
At the end of the day. You know,
Yeah.
God has given us everything. He has equipped us with everything to overcome. So, you know. And if you don't believe in God, man, there's a higher power. Know that there's a higher power. So, so we're going to wrap it up there, man. Thank you guys for listening. I love you guys for listening and watching on YouTube if you're watching us. And I'm so glad that you guys were able to be on this podcast and share this moment with me.
Much love, brother.
So before we wrap it up, man, you know, we like to share it with one person. So you got one person that you think specifically can benefit from listening to this podcast, this episode. You don't like somebody that you don't think is listening, but that you want to specifically share it with, because you know I want to promote this podcast, but like at the end of the day, you know, I want to encourage everybody to at least share it with one person.
Oh yeah. You want me to say it?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're calling you out right now.
Yeah. I'll go first. How about that?
Okay, go ahead.
Show me how it's done.
I'm gonna put on the spot real quick. My little sister.
Hello.
Kiara Folletti.
Okay.
I know we listened. Oh, I said the full name. Oh well, whatever. I know we listened to my first episode on here a while ago, but it's your turn now. This is a very age appropriate episode, I think, for you. So hope you enjoy.
Awesome. I guess it's my turn if we're going down
And
the
I love
circle.
you.
Oh man.
I couldn't shut around and not say I love her.
Yeah. Oh man, I want to really encourage. Because I always hit this dilemma.
And JoJo, sorry, and my little brother JoJo.
Little brother too.
JoJo need to hear this. Savannah, you can skip it, but JoJo and Kiera, I love both of y'all. Y'all need to hear this.
Yo, you a good brother, man.
Oh, you know, I wish, I hope, I pray, I try.
Brothers.
Brings a tear to my eye.
Oh my gosh. Let's relax.
I want to specifically, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to share this episode with, trying to think somebody like off the wall, like my old principal or something like that. I'm
throw it back to high school. Why not? I'm
gonna throw it up to. I'm gonna challenge myself to share it with one of my mentors, somebody that I look up to that I don't think listens. I'm gonna go out my way to just share this episode with them.
Wow, you got me.
Yeah, you gotta come with the heat.
Yeah,
now.
I'm saying.
Hey, but the thing is, you probably know a lot of people that don't listen. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing is, everybody in my close circle at least kind of knows about it. Okay. You know what I mean? So that's why it's hard for me. But I'm sure you know somebody that doesn't know anything about Vibrant Sons.
Yeah.
So it's probably easy for you to say, okay, this person. It don't have to be super heartfelt.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm not gonna.
It ain't a competition.
Yeah,
I know we're playing with the heaters.
Nah, it's a competition.
I'm very competitive. I'm trying. You know what? I'll probably just. I'm gonna share with a couple people, man. I'm gonna share my boy Brian. He just had a kid.
Okay.
So I want to share with him. Definitely share with my little brother. You know what I'm saying? And probably my mom.
Okay.
Yeah, I want her to hear this.
Share the video, man.
Yeah, so
we're gonna have the video. We're gonna have the audio.
Yeah. My boy Brian, Damien, and Montina.
There we go. We're gonna make an intentional effort. Keep up with us. Hold us accountable. Tweet us.
Yeah.
Instagram us. Whatever you got to do to keep us accountable. And I encourage all of you guys, share it with one person, man. Subscribe if you can. Find us on all the social media platforms. We're there. VibrantSons.com is a very easy way to find everything. I have links to everything on there. Use the hashtag when listening. Share it. If not with all your followers, share it with at least one other person. So we're going to wrap it up there, man. I thank you guys for tuning in. I love you once again. We're out. That wraps it up.
Peace.